In 1943, a man died alone in a small room on the 33rd floor of the New Yorker hotel. He was found lying on his bed, hands folded neatly across his chest, as if waiting for something or someone. Outside, the city hummed with war. Inside, only silence. His name was Nikola Tesla. The newspapers called him a genius ahead of his time. But what they didn't say was that he died fearing what the world might do if it ever found his final invention. Just hours before dawn, federal agents entered his room. They took every notebook, every diagram, every letter written in his trembling hand. Each page was stamped classified and sealed in vaults that no one would open for decades. Among those papers was a single sketch, a weapon Tesla called the Peace Ray, a beam of concentrated energy that, in his words, could melt engines of war like wax beneath the sun. He believed it could make war impossible, because no army would dare to march when destruction could strike. At the speed of light, to most, it sounded like madness. To some, like salvation. To the government, it sounded like power. The files were hidden, the story buried. For decades, Tesla's death ray lived only in whispers, in yellowed newspapers, in late-night radio, in the quiet corners of conspiracy. But what if it was never lost? What if the weapon that could end all wars didn't die with Tesla that winter night? What if someone found it again? In 1934, Nikola Tesla walked into the New York Times office, carrying nothing but a folded sheet of paper and a spark in his eyes. He told the reporters he had invented a weapon that could end all wars. The editors smiled politely, thinking he spoke in metaphors. But Tesla never spoke in metaphors. He drew a single line across the page, straight, precise, and said, "This beam will travel through the air like invisible lightning. It will carry enough energy to melt steel in seconds. No army will cross it and live." He called it teleforce. The public called it the death ray. It wasn't radiation. It wasn't heat. It was pure electricity, focused, directed, harnessed by the planet's magnetic field itself. He built a small emitter in his lab. Witnesses spoke of the air shimmering, metal vibrating, the smell of ozone filling the room. One journalist wrote, "It felt like standing near a thunderstorm. Only this storm listened to it." Governments took notice. The Soviet Union offered $25,000 for his design. Britain asked for blueprints. The United States hesitated. That same year, his funding was cut, his patents dismissed as impractical, and the man who once lit the world could no longer pay his electric bill. Still, Tesla kept writing. He warned that if mankind failed to learn restraint, the same energy that powered cities would one day erase them. "There will come a time," he wrote, "when the wars of men will be decided by beams of invisible fire." People laughed. History didn't. By the 1942nd, Nikola Tesla had become a ghost, wandering through his own legacy. He fed pigeons in Bryant Park every morning, carried crumbs in his coat, and lived in a hotel room he could barely afford. Those who saw him said his eyes still burned, not with madness, but with defiance. He had looked too far into the future, and the future had looked back. In his notebooks, he drew towers that could send energy across oceans, and machines that could make armies obsolete. He dreamed of a world powered without wires, without borders, without war. a world of light and balance. But he also wrote of something darker, that once mankind tasted absolute power, it would never stop craving it. On January 7, 1943, the maid knocked twice and entered. Tesla was gone, his body cold, his face at peace. On the desk, a cup of cold coffee and a letter addressed to the President of the United States. That letter was never found. Hours later, the FBI sealed his room. Boxes vanished into vaults under the name Project Nick. For 70 years, those files stayed buried until fragments resurfaced in declassified archives. Blueprints, equations, a signature, teleforce. Some say the papers were incomplete. Others whisper they were never destroyed. That somewhere, someone finished what Tesla began. January 7th, 1943. The city outside the New Yorker hotel was wrapped in a cold, uneasy silence. The war in Europe devoured millions, and in that same night, a man died quietly in his sleep, taking a century of secrets with him. Within hours, men in dark coats arrived, federal agents. They sealed the room, logged every item, and left with boxes of Tesla's work. Hotel staff whispered that one folder bore a single word, typed in red, Teleforce. The official report said Tesla died with nothing of value. But behind closed doors, the U.S. government began a new study, a classified investigation known only as Project Nick. They said it was radar or energy transmission, but witnesses told a different story of machines that could focus electricity into a beam of destruction, a weapon that could erase entire squadrons. Without a sound, the FBI buried the files. For decades, they slept, until someone opened them again. In 2016, a quiet update appeared online. A batch of declassified FBI documents. Among them, notes labeled property of Nikola Tesla. Most were missing, but one letter stood out, from the Office of Alien Property Custodian, stating Tesla's research had been secured for national defense. For decades, whispers spread. The U.S. Army tried to rebuild the death ray. Russia followed. Maybe. They never stopped. In the deserts of New Mexico, witnesses reported strange bursts of light under cloudless skies. In secret tests, scientists spoke of beams that disabled drones, melted steel, and blinded satellites. They called them directed energy weapons. Different name, same dream. The line between Tesla's vision and modern warfare blurred until it was gone. What Tesla called a weapon to end war had become something else, a weapon to control it. The death ray didn't die, it evolved. The 21st century, the age of precision, of surveillance, of invisible wars. Satellites watch, drones strike, lasers hum above the clouds. Somewhere in the shadows, Tesla's dream is alive, but twisted. They call it technology, progress, security. But in secret labs, scientists speak of light that can kill, faster than thought. We didn't create the death ray, one engineer once said. We perfected it. Tesla wanted peace, but mankind perfected fear. If Tesla's invention reappeared today, in the hands of one nation, or one man, what would happen? A beam that could erase a city. A flash that could silence a world. No smoke, no noise, only silence. It sounds like peace. But it would be peace built on terror. A fragile stillness bought with fear. If Tesla could see it now, he'd know his peace ray had become the very thing he feared. A symbol of power, a reminder. That man will always reach for the divine and burn himself trying to touch it. When war ends, what will we fear next? Ourselves. In a letter never sent, Tesla once wrote, "There is no dangerous invention, only dangerous men." He wanted to build a weapon so powerful, so terrifying, that mankind would be too afraid to ever use it. But we didn't learn fear, we learned fascination. Every nation now speaks of peace, while building a new way to destroy. Maybe that's why Tesla's death ray never truly vanished. Because as long as humanity desires power, the beam still burns, not in the labs, but in our minds. And when the world once again stands on the edge, they will remember his name. Nikola Tesla, the man who dreamed of peace and left behind the weapon of the end. The death ray never died, because we were never ready for it to disappear.